It's officially baseball season, folks. That's right. It is time to talk baseball. Here at Locked On Astros, we're excited. We're going to talk about Dana Brown's comments, what he said about Tucker and Bregman. And at the end of the show, you're going to see a sneak peek of a clip with our interview with your starting catcher, Yainer Diaz. Let's get started. Hit that intro music, Eric.
Welcome to Locked On Astros, your daily Astros podcast. Here are your hosts, Eric the Man Huysman and Brett Htown Wheelhouse Chancey.
We are Locked On Houston Astros, and we hope that you join us for a daily Locked On Astros podcast. My name is Eric Huysman. You can find me on X at Eric Talkstros. You can find the show at Locked On Astros, your team every day. Brett, when you're not watching the Super Bowl and freezing all of a sudden to death outside, where can they find you at?
Yeah, I got a little cold out there when I stepped outside after the game. You can find me at Htown Wheelhouse on X, Instagram, and TikTok. You can find me at Stros411 on X, Instagram, and Facebook. Always positive. Positive. I love baseball season. Always Stros.
Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. New customers join today and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started today. And guys, thank you for making Locked On Astros podcast your first listen every day. Whether it's on YouTube, go and subscribe to us. Go and make us your first listen on Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast. Go and check out the Locked On Astros podcast. And we are excited. The Super Bowl, it was great. I know some people on X had their feelings about the halftime show, but I'm glad that the Taylor Swift Bowl is over. Now that means that the baseball season can begin. We have spring training. We have spring training officially starting. Pitchers, catchers reporting this week. Then the full squad reporting this week, and it's great. And what's really weird is there's so many big names, free agents still out there. And It's crazy. Jordan Montgomery, just Blake Snell. There's just a whole bunch of names that are still out there looking for jobs. And that just shows what type of market that's out. But guys, you've got to tune in. I know it's late at night, but you got to tune in. You've been up this late watching the Chiefs come back to win the Super Bowl. Yeah. You might as well go ahead and stay up and catch a sneak peek of the Yainer Diaz interview. And we're going to have that a little bit later on in the show.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to share with y'all the clip. I think the clip that we picked is excellent, is a good little teaser. We just want to say thank you to Yainer Diaz and his agent, Rafael Antune, Matthew Park, who was a big part of the, audio engineering and video editing part. And then as well, Mr. Rowe at my school. Just everybody involved. And I want to thank the West End downtown for providing us a space. So, Eric, there are a lot of big free agents out there. Mr. Corona kind of hit that up as you were saying that, and he's asking, is this a good thing or a bad thing? I don't necessarily know it's a bad thing. I don't think it's a great thing. I don't think it's a great thing in that pitchers and catchers are reporting from the 13th through the 15th. And if you're Blake Snell, if you're Jordan Montgomery, you've got 48 to 72 hours to, what kind of time clock was I on? 48 to 72 hours to get a deal done, because you want to be at camp. We remember when Dallas Keuchel was going after that big money and he sat out to June or whatever. I don't think you're going to see that, but there's either a lot of teams talking to the same guy, or everybody's in a holding pattern. I don't know why they're in a holding pattern. Now, the Astros are still in the mix, I think, with some of these starters. What I would absolutely love, and it would just make opposing fan bases just melt in effigy, is if Dana Brown signed a Blake Snell. I mean, that would just be completely bonkers, Eric. But there's a lot of, even bats that I thought would get signed early on. Jorge Soler, who I think is he's
Cody
a
Bellinger
guy. Cody, I'm telling you right now, I'm just going to tell you this. I'm not saying I know for a fact, but it's my understanding that Cody Bellinger will be signing with the Cubs. It's not official, and I'm not saying it's being reported, but I've talked to some people that have some connections, and they said Cody Bellinger going back to Chicago. They said I would be blown away if he went anywhere else. He said I think they're just working out the money and stuff. So I'm just saying bookmark it. I think Cody ends up back in Chicago. But there was a crazy article, Eric, and I want to get your take on this. They're talking about Kyle Tucker, and so since we're talking about free agents, we're not talking about Tucker and Bregman's contract, but this article said that Kyle Tucker could go to one of three teams, could be traded to the Cubs, could be traded to the Phillies, or the Dodgers. It's like they lost me at Dodgers. I was like, okay, I can't read the rest of this article, but the Phillies make sense.
You lost me too.
Oh, I lost you. Okay. I was like, okay, good. You took me literally, and I was confused. I'm like a concrete thinker. My eyes are closed. I'm invisible. But if you look at the Phillies payroll, it's crazy. It dropped by 100 million next year. And then 3 years from now, it goes down to like under 100 million, dude. They're at 257 right now.
Right.
So Phillies, I'm just saying they have prospects. And if you're going to trade Kyle Tucker, you better get some high value prospects. You better get something back in return, or you better sign Kyle Tucker. So there's some interesting things to definitely talk about.
Yes. So I think that the reason for the free agent market is the fact that the demand, there's a lot more demand for, I guess, less demand for just the free agents out there. And I think that they're wanting more money, and I think teams are becoming more fiscal responsible out there right now. And so you're looking for, like, you have Cody Bellinger. I want to make the most money. And so he knows that he's going to have to wait out. And eventually the teams know, hey, well, if we wait him out enough, he's going to go ahead and say, well, I know that he's going to come down. So we'll see what happens. But just remember, a couple of years ago, I believe that there's a whole bunch. There's like 10 or 12 different free agents. I forgot what season it was. It may have been during the pandemic or something.
I believe it was a 2020 season.
Yeah, Scott Boras had to have a separate spring training going for the free agents.
He did. I remember that.
You may have to have something like this going because you have Jordan Montgomery. And the fact that, like, we heard that Josh Hader say one of the reasons why he didn't go with the Rangers was because of the TV deal. And a lot of people are saying the reason why Jordan Montgomery is not already with the Rangers again is because of the TV deal, and that fact that it hasn't been done yet. And Blake Snell, he is one of the best pitchers in baseball, and he is wanting to get paid like the best pitchers in baseball. And unfortunately, there's just not a team that has said, yeah, come here. And you even have Trevor Bauer. Trevor Bauer's out there just like saying, hey, I'll just go ahead and make custodial money. Just go and pay me what you not really, but he's just out there just begging for somebody to give him a chance. And teams are not going to do it. So this is a different market, and
very different market. It's
more of a buyer or seller.
This is definitely a buyer's market, because the longer they wait, the less, like, a team can say, okay, you want 300 million, but who's offering that to you? We'll give you 240. I think it's a buyer's market, because it's kind of like because the demand isn't as much as, like, the supply outweighs the demand. Right. So therefore you have a devalued product. Kind of like, if I got the CJ Stroud rookie, I know how much it's worth, but if it's just a base rookie card and there's 20,000 of these versus if there's 200 of these, right? The 200 it's gonna have more value. So, and I'm not saying the players are worth less, but the teams just simply aren't willing to pay them right now.
Yeah, and I think that it's going to change because once we hit spring training, you're going to have injuries. You're going to have people be like, oh, wait, so-and-so is not that good this year. We need some more starting pitcher. Oh, we need to go ahead and get some reinforcements for the lineup. And that's when you're going to have some of the other names come in. But until then, you just have these, since that 2020 season, I just can't remember these bigger names still being free agents.
And as many,
I wouldn't have bet on it. I wouldn't have even just kind of thought about that going to the season. So,
Exactly.
speaking of free agents, we'll go ahead and talk about what Dana Brown had to say about not just Bregman, but Kyle Tucker in a second. And we'll go ahead and kind of speculate which one maybe stays with the Houston Astros, which one
Right.
may be on the move. So, we'll do that in a second.
Hey, everybody, this episode is brought to you by FanDuel. That's right. Get buckets with your first bet on FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Because right now, new customers, listen to this, get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's right. Only $5. You get $150 back. That's a massive return. That's $150 if your bet wins. So bet on all your favorite NBA players, Alperen Şengün, Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks. I mean, that kid, Thompson, Cam Whitmore. Heck, Damian Lillard and the Bucks are trying to upset the Celtics as the Celtics are trying to be the top team in the East. There's all kinds of ways to make money and win with NBA players, like quick bets, live same game parlays, exclusive props, and so much more. So just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and shoot your shot. That's right, at FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NBA.
Hey guys, thank you for making Locked On Astros podcast your first listen every day. Whether it's on YouTube, go and subscribe to us. Go and make us your first listen on Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcasts. Go and check out the Locked On Astros podcast. But go and check out Locked On Sports Today. It's the first 24/7 streaming channel that has all the news you need. The Chiefs just won the Super Bowl. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of the Locked On channels talking about it tomorrow. So if you want all Chiefs all day, go and check out the Locked On Sports tomorrow, and it'd be 24/7 coverage of the Chiefs. But as baseball season starts, as the NBA season continues, you'll go ahead and find all that news you need to know. Locked On Sports Today, live 24/7 on YouTube. So go and check it out. All right, so Brett, you need to unmute yourself in a second, but let's go ahead and address the Dana Brown comment. So I know he made a lot of comments. I think it was somebody meant Jay Roberts says, "Well, what do you think about Dana's talk about getting another starting pitcher?"
Right.
I know he mentioned about getting another starter, then putting another one of those starters in the bullpen, aka maybe Jose Urquidy. Something like that. So this is something that the Astros need to decide. They are already over the luxury tax threshold, the first, the tier 1.
Right.
So now the tier 2, they are only 3.5 million, something like that. It depends on which way you're looking. So they can't afford to do too much without going over the next tax bracket.
Yeah.
So the question is, if you're going to go Blake Snell, you're going to go over. But if you're going to go all in, you might as well go all in and try to build one of these super teams. But the problem is, when's the last time one of these super teams have won the World Series? Oh, wait, last year.
Well, yeah. I mean, okay.
Sorry,
look,
Rangers.
Hold on. Easy on the super team. I think they're super offense. I think their pitching got hot at the right moment. But for the most part, their pitching wasn't their bullpen was in shambles. Remember when we dismantled them in Arlington during the regular season? I mean, and they still have a lot of holes. They have a lot more pitching questions than we do. I mean, half their guys that they've signed to these big contracts are coming off of injury or have had an injury. I mean, it's insane. Like, the Rangers actually need a starting pitcher more than the Astros do.
Right. They need Jordan Montgomery.
Yeah. Mr. Corona said, Houston has 8 starters already. They don't need 9. I remember David Sampson telling us for a 162 game season, you need between 9 and 12 starters if you're going for a World Series. So you can never have too much pitching. Remember, Eric, when you said we needed more pitching and I said, nah, we don't. And you said, yeah, we do. And I said, no, we don't. What happened? Injuries happened. You said, Brett, remember when I said that? And you got me on that. So tab Eric.
I understand that. But the Astros are in a situation where they really have the depth of the starting pitchers that they didn't have.
Right. No, right. but let's okay. Let's move on to Tucker and Bregman
Okay.
before we get bogged down into all these hypotheticals. Because my whole thing, Eric, and you can attest to this. Those who listen to Locked On Astros can attest to this. You can go back. There's video evidence. Out of Bregman and Tucker, who have I been saying this entire time I think the Astros will sign? Which one?
I think I would say that you were. I don't remember, but I would say that you're leaning more towards Tucker and
Yes.
Bregman was going.
Always Tucker, because I just thought he was that guy that you pay, the 5-tool guy. He's never injured. He's a consistent, you know what you're going to get out of him. Of course, everybody has this recency bias of what he did in the playoffs, and they flip out and they freak out about that. But I think that is a little concerning for the Astros. But from what I've heard lately, Dana Brown has talked more about Alex Bregman's irreplaceability or seeing him at third or how special he is. I haven't heard him say that Kyle Tucker is special. I haven't heard him say, man, I can't imagine having to replace Kyle Tucker. Now,
It's
that's not
urgency too. It's urgency. It's like
right.
it's a difference of a year versus 2 years with
Right.
Tucker and Bregman.
And the thing is, that's not even a slight against Tucker. That's not saying Tucker's not good or phenomenal.
Right.
That's not saying that Tucker's a 5-tool player. But when you think of great third baseman, I think of Manny Machado. I think of Nolan Arenado. I think of Alex Bregman. I think of these top guys in Major League Baseball.
Right.
And, Eric, I think I've shifted. I've changed a little bit. I think the Astros more than likely will keep Alex Bregman. And I believe that Alex Bregman will not go after that $300+ million contract. I think they'll get him on a team-friendly contract, but he will still be paid very healthily. I think that you could give him 35, 34, 33, 32, 31 for the next 5 years. Give him a $4 million signing bonus in each of those years. He would be making more than Francisco Lindor and Manny Machado in those years. You're paying him 37. All the way down to 35, and he's still making more than all those guys. And right. I mean, if you're going to keep him for 5 years and you value him like that, of course, maybe they won't offer that much, but that's only like $256 million versus what is it? I have to do the math. I did the math the other day when I did that. Now, what do you think, Eric? Do you think they keep Bregman or do you think they keep Tucker?
I think it all depends on what Bregman wants to do and what his agent is encouraging him to do. But because you heard Boris the other day, he was like, well, we had Altuve do this bridge contract. But Bregman, he's a different player. He's younger. He's at a different point in his career. It's not going to be this similar type structure. So in other words, he's going to want more money, and it's not going to be, I just don't think that it's going to be as such. Yes. No, I don't know if Tucker is a Boris player, but I know that Bregman is a Boris player for sure. So I think that they're two different situations. And I think that if anything happens, it's got to happen spring training. Like, right, they report spring training. They sit down to Alex. They're like, hey, we want to get this deal done with you. We don't want you to go to free agency. We want to we want you at third base for the Houston Astros for the next 8 years. And we don't want anybody else. We just want you. We choose you. Here's a rose. Just whatever it takes to get him to stay. But more and less, if you heard what Scott Boras says, they're going to test free agency. And Alex Bregman wants to test free agency. Somebody as young as he is and with the drive he has, he's going to want to test free agency. But the difference with Altuve is he is more about I want to be remembered as a Houston Astro. I want to be remembered with the same likes of Jeff Bagwell, Craig Biggio. I was with the Houston Astros for my entire career. It's all about the legacy with him. And that's what Scott Boras said. So Bregman is going to be a little bit different. Now with Tucker, I don't know. He's a young guy. And I don't think we've seen the best of Kyle Tucker yet.
Yeah. Exactly. But that leads us into talking about our ride or die. So let's do that, and then we'll just get into this topic a little bit more. Hey, y'all, passion, drive, and patience. That's what brings home the winning trophy. And it's also about keeping your ride or die alive. I mean, keeping the Astros alive, keeping that streak alive, right? eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED lights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or you're into style, eBay Motors is there for you, and they have you covered. Now, one of the things I want to tell you is that eBay Motors has over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die. No matter what you're looking for, they have eBay guaranteed fit. Your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back, because eBay Motors, you're not burning. You're burning rubber. You're not burning cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. So keep your ride or die alive with ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay guaranteed fit, only available to U.S. customers.
Let's go and make the Locked On Astros podcast your first listen every day. Whether it's on YouTube, go and subscribe to us. Go and make us your first listen on Apple, Odyssey, Spotify. Wherever you listen to your podcast, go and check out the Locked On Astros podcast. But go and check out Locked On Sports Today. It's the first 24/7 streaming channel out there. It's got all the news you need to know 24/7. NFL, NBA, MLB, soccer, football, whatever you want to call it. Just there whenever you need it. So go check out Locked On Sports Today. And once the baseball season gets started, you'll go and see Brett and I on there as well.
Okay, Eric, now it's too late to try the accents. Just say football.
Football.
No, don't do that. Don't do that to yourself. Come on, McFly. Right. No, seriously. But seriously, going back to the Bregman Tucker, and one of the things that Jay mentions is he's like, don't forget about Framber. Look, Framber's going to want a lot of money. We just saw the Astros pay $85 million for 5 years to Lance McCullers. And I'm not saying Lance McCullers and Framber Valdez are the same people. I just don't know how much more we're going to get out of Framber. And I hope I'm wrong on this. If we sign him, I hope we haven't seen peak Framber. Yeah, I'm sorry, it's Framber. I've been corrected many times by people. How are you a podcaster? I don't know how to pronounce his name. Framber Valdez, I guess is how you pronounce it. But Eric, I still think that if you have no intentions of signing him, if he's not in the mix, which I don't know why he wouldn't be, but if he's not, then trade him. You know who you could trade him to and probably get some really good prospects? The Philadelphia Phillies, because they will have cap room. They're going to want somebody. Now, I would hate to see Framber Valdez on the Phillies. I would hate to see him on any other team. I love him on the Astros. So I'm not endorsing kicking him out the door. But if you're not going to pay him, get value. The Phillies have a lot of top 100 prospects. We could use that to help rebuild the farm system.
The problem with that, Brett, is people like you and me, we would be giving the Astros crap. You know what I was about to say, but they'll be giving them crap about saying, oh, well, they're giving up on the season. And they don't care about winning anymore. Yes, Brett. Yes, we would. Because we expect winning baseball and trading 1 year aces away. That's the reason why the Angels did not trade Shohei Ohtani, because how can you trade one of the best players in baseball away? That's why they could not do it. So that's why they lost all that potential things. And that's why you, as a team that's gone to 7 straight ALCSs,
right?
And you can't just trade somebody like that way. That's same reason you can't trade Bregman. Even if I get what you're trying to say, but as a GM, you can't sell that.
But I absolutely could sell that. The Phillies would absolutely take Framber for some prospects.
Oh, I know.
Because they want to win now.
So a lot of teams would, yes.
But I'm just saying, I wouldn't think they were giving up because they've got a whole team. Fromber's not their whole team. Fromber freaking tanked and went catatonic the second half of the season because Verlander showed up. Okay. And I need Fromber to be locked in from day one and opening day. And I need him to have a stellar year from beginning to end. I might change my mind. I still think that because I don't know their intentions. And I only say this. And I'm not saying, guys, I'm not saying trade him right now. I said trade him after the season. I'm not saying trade him right now. He's got 2 years left, correct?
Even then, that's still sending bad message going into the why they're balloons.
I don't know. It's my new iOS. Like when I do thumbs up, sometimes it catches my thumb and it'll do a thumbs up bubble. I have no idea how this stupid thing works. But no, guys, I'm not saying y'all act like I'm saying trade him now. Trade him. I'm not saying trade him at the trade deadline. After this season, if you have no intention, well, quit shaking your head and let me make my point. If you have no intention of paying him, you're not giving up on anything. You're getting back something to help build for the future to keep the run going. Losing a Fromber, especially if there's other free agents that are out there that you can get, is not like shooting the horse. Is not like, oh, the horse broke his leg. We just got to off him. You know, we got to get rid of the horse because he can't run in the Kentucky Derby. That's not the point. The point is that you have an asset that has a lot of value. And if you don't think you can get more out of Fromber than what you've gotten, now it all depends on how much longer JV is here, who they get to replace JV. Now, because JV exiting, that may change that whole dynamic and that whole equation. But that's all I'm saying. But here in about a minute or two, we need to show this Yainer Diaz interview tease. But let's go ahead and wrap this up. So what do you think?
I just think that the only reason why they trade Fromber Valdez is you have somebody like JP France or Hunter Brown or somebody that has come out and said, hey, I'm a legit ace. You don't need Fromber Valdez anymore. Otherwise, you are trading away one of your strengths. And I don't give a crap about what happened during the second half of last season. Fromber Valdez, if he can get his mental side straight, he's one of the best pitchers in baseball. So, if he has another season like he did in the second half last year, then sure, trade him. But the problem is you're not going to get what you think you are going to get if he has a season like that.
Well, I need him to have a good season for one of two reasons. I want to win another World Series. And if I'm not going to keep him, I need to have trade value.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
I just don't think that they trade him. If they win a World Series, you're not going to trade from him.
And I'm not saying, no. I'm not saying they are. I'm just saying if they're not going to pay him, you might as well trade him because then he'll go on the open market if you're not going to pay him. But hey, you know what? That's enough of that. I think the horse is wounded. We know he's no longer racing. But hey, let's do this. Here's a sneak preview of our interview with Mr. Yainer Diaz, your starting catcher. So let me ask you this. Last time we spoke, Yainer, you and I talked about the competition you have with your brother. Did you have a competition with your brother, and are you still his daddy when it comes to home runs?
Que la última vez que nosotros hablamos, tú mencionaste y comentaste sobre la competencia que tú tienes con tu hermano. Hicieron la competencia de honrón en el off-season y tú todavía eres su papá.
Yes, it's my son.
I love it.
Hay que mandárselo eso. Yeah, it's my son. I win in the competition in December.
Yeah.
In my city. Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, we got that. So you are still his daddy. Very good. Oh man, that was it. Listen, that was a great interview, Eric. No, it's not a new studio. It is a location that we've been allowed to use, the West End downtown. So it is going to be a sweet interview. The whole interview in there is there. Eric and I both get to ask him questions. It was phenomenal. I can't wait. So 8:30, tell everybody to show up. We want to see max crowd. We'll be in there in the comment section. So we are excited to share that with you guys.
Yes, and we know who the son is. So anyway, so yeah, going. There's a lot of great stuff he said, and he told us a lot of great stuff afterwards. And there's a great moment. Brett gave him something. I'm not going to say what it is at the end, and there's a very like somber moment, and it was just like very moving. And so you'll have to kind of see the actual interview to actually witness it. So it was a great experience. And guys, thank you for making Locked On Astros podcast your first listen every day, whether it's on YouTube. Go and subscribe to us. Go and make us your first listen on Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcasts. Go and check out the Locked On Astros podcast, and we'll be here all season and with the hearts and everything, Brett. Brett, yeah, I can't with the hearts. Go and close this out.
Oh man, yes. My new iOS just updated, and thumbs go and hearts, and there's fireworks somehow. So it's going to be a great season, 2024. We're going to kick it off. Yainer Diaz tomorrow night. Pitchers and catchers report the next day, and we are rolling into the 2024 World Series season. We're calling it. Y'all have a good one. And as always, Eric,
go Astros. Yeah.
What's up with the hearts, man? That was new.
It's Valentine's Day this week, so I guess
that's right. There you go.
Happy Valentine's Day, all.
Happy Valentine's Day. We're still live. Oh,
Yep.
Oh, you're still live. What? What's going on?